We're going. Hold on. Now we're live.
Whoa, we're live. Did you
What's
guys hear any of that last string of stuff that we just
They
said?
did not hear a single word of that. So we will.
Well, what's up, Nooner Nation?
We'll start over.
What's going
What's up,
on?
Nooners? Fourth episode in. I'm still fucking up. We'll get it right one of these days. Welcome back to Nooner Nation Podcast, guys. The podcast for Nooners by Nooners. We got with us tonight two very special guests, JJ Jackson, the host of High and Angry Podcast. Also,
hello.
Friend of the show. He was on the first episode talking about starting a podcast. I obviously took none of their advice because I fucked another intro up. And the handsome man down in the bottom of the screen that you see, the great Eric Tansey, host of Drinkin Bros Sports Tailgate Legends, host of Failure to Stop with Mike the Cop, and more importantly for this podcast, the proprietor of Instill Distilling Company out of Clayton, North Carolina. What's happening, fellas?
What's
What's
up,
going
brother?
on?
Going on, guys? Live chat. How we doing? We're gonna run through these names again. So we got
look.
Chase, we got Matt, Titan. What's up? Jimmy, Reed. How's it going, fellas? How's our audio sounding tonight? I've been working on that a little bit with our boy Jimmy's help. He gave me some tips while we're out in Nashville.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, it's what he's good for. He's good for
He's good for the tip.
helping out with everything. I mean, he's a perfect producer. He knows a lot about everything. And not only is he the producer, but probably one of the most integral parts of Instill Distilling Company.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, he designed the logo for Instill. A lot of the social media stuff that you saw, a lot of T-shirts, the swag. And then he also...
Did he put Casey Anthony behind you in the live screen shot? Was that
No,
on you?
Not a chance, baby. I'm from Florida. She's a staple of Florida. She's like the fucking mascot of Florida. That's just like when you see that, you're like, that dude's from Florida. So, yeah, no, that's all me.
Just making sure.
I mean, everything
And
else is.
I love the flaming hot Cheetos, by the way.
Oh, you remember that episode? That was a good
Yeah.
episode. One of my favorite things to do with the flaming hot Cheetos is you take a bag and you smash them, and then you boil up some corn. You roll the corn in mayonnaise, and then you sprinkle the fiery Cheetos over there. It's called Mexican street corn. I absolutely love it.
I've had Mexican street corn, but I have not had it with fiery hot Cheetos. I don't think. I think I used the.
It's an aioli. It's an aioli, Bill. They don't have aiolis in Iowa. We get it.
Yep.
Well, sorry.
What do they have in Iowa? Is there
Um,
anything decent that comes out of Iowa?
live chat. I messed with some stuff because they said it was echoey. So can you guys hear me?
Oh. Is it me that's echoey?
No, I think I was messing around with some stuff, so I think I might have two mic feeds on accident through my OBS service, but hopefully they can hear me. Anyway, so in Iowa, the big kind of thing here is like fried pork tenderloin sandwiches. That's what everybody kind of prides themselves on in Iowa, so everybody's got their own take on it. There's probably one that has flaming hot Cheetos on it, to be honest.
I'll tell you, the fiery chicken in Nashville is probably like one of my newest favorite cuisines.
Nashville hot chicken, man. Did you get it on?
Yes, that's what it was. Yep.
Did you ever get it for breakfast on top of a waffle?
So I did not do that. I didn't know that was a thing. Well, I didn't see it on the menu, and we were at Hot Chicken. But I just got like the chicken strips.
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed because I was like, fuck, dude, I never get chicken strips. I always get real man's food because I'm not fucking 10 years old. But these chicken
Got a
strips
bone
were
in
like,
it for a reason.
yeah. Well, these chicken nuggets, dude, I remember, like chicken strips, they were like the size of my fucking computer. It was like a whole,
Yeah.
it was like a whole fucking chicken. It was the biggest chicken strips I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
All right, so Tansey, real quick, not to go on a tangent on chicken, but does your chicken, like my chicken, need to have the little retarded leg on the end? Because that's integral, because it gets the little crispy, like on chicken wings.
Yeah.
You know, it's got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
little hanger leg.
Yep.
It just hangs off the end like that.
Yeah, it does. Are you flats or wings? I mean, are you flats or drumsticks?
If it ain't a whole wing with everything attached,
Yeah.
I probably won't eat it.
Yeah. He's saying he likes that whole wing.
Yeah, I'm a
You
flats
know, it's got
guy.
the little leg.
I know-
like,
I
it's
know what
got
you're
this
talking
part,
Yeah.
this part, and
I know
the
what you're
little guy.
I know what you're talking about, and I'm that guy too. Especially like on a Cornish game hen, I always go right for that little wing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One time I arrested this girl. Well, arrested her several times. I wasn't arresting her this night, but I was bringing her dinner, and oftentimes I would bring her like Bojangles when she's not being a fucking crack whore. But she was trying to show off for some young gang members, and she was like, "Yo, Tanny, go get me some fucking chicken." And I said, "Tarsha, don't talk to me like that. You can say please, thank you. We're a civilized civilization. You can act like a civil human." She was like, "Man, fuck you. Go get me some chicken." So I was like, "All right, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to ask nicely." And she was like, "Bitch, go get my chicken. Shut the fuck up." So I was like, "Got you." So I went to Food Line instead of Bojangles, and I got a Cornish game hen, like a whole chicken. It's not a Cornish game hen. It was a fucking whole chicken. But they're small. Yeah.
Yeah, they're small.
They're
roaster chickens, right?
Yeah, roaster chickens. I just call they're not like a real chicken. It's like a fucking small chicken. So anyway, I get her that, and I get her some unsweet tea, and I take it back to her, and I hand her bag of food, and she opens the bag, and she's like, "Oh, what the fuck is this? Oh, is this that goddamn white people chicken? Oh, is it gonna lay an egg? What the fuck?" And I'm walking away. She throws the chicken. It goes over my shoulder, explodes on the side of my cop car. I run. I open the door because I knew the tea was coming next. She's like, "Oh, the fuck is this?" Because it was unsweet tea. And she threw the jug, the half gallon. I fucking peel out. I got chicken all over my car, tea all over my car. I see her the next morning, hungover as fuck, or the next afternoon, and I was like, "Hey, Tarsha," and she's like, "Hey, Tanny," and she was like, "That's real fucked up what you did last night." I said, "What?"
The moral.
She's like, "You bring me that white people chicken. That was mean as hell." And I was like, "Well, you're acting like a real bitch."
Don't fuck with a black person and they chicken, Tansey. Come on, dog.
Well, she should have asked nicely. She could have had the fucking Bojangles for days. But she had to be a real bitch that day, so she got white people chicken. And then I got her tacos the next night, and she's like, "Don't you bring me no white people tacos." I said, "What the fuck is a white person taco?" She's like, "I want it crunchy." I was like,
"Yeah,
got it.
Crunchy, dog.
All right.
Just like the retarded leg. I need it fried hard. I need it fried hard, Tansey."
But no, that was one thing in Nashville, man. Like for those that don't know, me and Tansey were down in Nashville for a couple days this weekend, and into the beginning of the week with the Drinkin Bros crew doing some stuff, and man, it got wild. But so I live in Iowa now. I'm originally from North Carolina, but after that golf tournament Monday, I woke up the next morning, went to Bojangles, and I housed 3 Cajun filet biscuits.
See, dude, I'm not a Bojangles guy, man. I'm really not into it. It's the rave here. We didn't have Bojangles in Florida, so I don't know. I mean, I'll eat it. I get it, but Biscuitville to me is way better than Bojangles.
Oh, see, I've never had
Biscuitville. I named my kid Bo Jackson, so every time I see him now, I'm just like, okay.
Oh shit!
My last name's Jackson. My last name's Jackson, so I was like, oh, Bo Jackson. So every time I see him now in the morning, especially when he's housing his breakfast, I'm like, it's Bo time.
Bo knows.
And it just works out that way.
Yeah, and actually, I learned today that Bojangles apparently is some sort of regional slang for a blowjob. Have you guys heard that before?
I just call it a blowy or a bee jibber. That's my slang
in one of our group chats.
Little jibskis, jibber.
In one of our group chats, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, he just needs like a head of a joint and some Bojangles," and I went off about me how much I love fucking Cajun filet biscuits. So like, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but you love that too, so it's all in context.
I'll take both, man, at the same time.
I'll eat Bojangles and I'll give you a Bojangles. Not kink shame.
One thing I've learned now living here that I don't like as much as I did living there is Southern sweet tea. Man, it's like, it's like syrup, and I used to make it that way.
It gives you heartburn.
Oh yeah, back in the day, man, that's how I made sweet tea. It was like 1.5 cups of sugar for every gallon of water, right? Like
yeah. It's like 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, and then like tea bags.
Oh yeah, yep, and 6 Lipton tea bags or something like that, and away you go.
We make a really good like raspberry tea drink. We call it an ice pick.
Yeah.
With our rum, it's really really fucking good. But like you can't really taste any in there, and I've never really gotten drunk at my distillery. The most I've ever had at my distillery is 2 drinks, and I kind of pride myself on that. So one day I got into these teas. It was on a Sunday. And I got into like these ice pick teas, and I was just like, I don't know, it tastes like the raspberry tea that you would get at fucking Starbucks. And so I didn't feel like there was any alcohol in there. I ended up drinking like 4 of them. All of a sudden, I'm fucking floored. This dude shows up with a Marlin in the back of his truck because he's moving. I'm like, dude, how much for the fucking Marlin? He's like, $2,000. I was like, I'll give you 500 cash right now. Guy's like, fucking dope. So I buy this like 11-foot fucking Marlin.
A live Marlin.
And everybody's like, dude, what are you going to do with an 11-foot Marlin? And I was like, okay, I don't fucking know. Who cares?
It's like Harry Carey used to say, if I go into a restaurant and I see a marlin on the wall, I just grab my wife and leave. Pound for pound, it's the strongest fish of the sea.
Man. Do you ever, being in North Carolina, do you ever go out to Wilmington for that big marlin tournament they have out there?
No. Some dude took a bunch of our rum out there to it.
Yeah.
And I guess like Michael Jordan was out there.
Yeah.
And so they took some pictures. But I used to work on a deep sea fishing boat when I was in high school. So
over it.
My kind of I fucking the reason I literally was driving to work on the boat. It was a Friday, and the boat leaves at 5 a.m. like every fucking like you got to be at the dock at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. And I guess like we had to do like our mandatory one Friday a month where you clean the boat and reorganize everything. So you don't have to be there until like 9 or something. And I was literally driving to the boat thinking like how shitty the day was going to be. And it was right when the war in Afghanistan kicked off in Iraq. And it was like they played this news clip. There's like guns and shit going off. And they're like, the men are now taking the walls of Fallujah. They're moving in under hostile fire. And I saw a recruiter station. I fucking pulled in, and I was like, fuck that boat. Send me there. That sounds way more fun than washing a boat. And I was in board shorts and like fish gut stained T-shirt. Fucking joined the Army right then and there.
You're probably better dressed than half the people that were coming in there at that time.
Get me the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
How many neck tattoos did you see in the recruiter's office that day?
I don't remember because the recruiter was so hot that I was like, fuck, dude.
Oh, they had a hot recruiter?
Yeah, she was a smoke show, dude.
Nice. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I never worked on a boat, but I worked in an Applebee's, so that's similar, I guess. Or one in Applebee's.
Yeah, he says, American wrestler said, war or fishing, fuck it, war. Look, dude, working on a deep sea fishing boat is like not even fishing. You're dealing with all these Yankees that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're throwing up everywhere. They're snagging each other. It was a shitty job because literally nobody knows how to fish, and that's respectfully. But when you're like 18, you're just highly annoyed by it. Like, what do you mean you don't know how to fucking fish? Like, are you this retarded? How fucking retarded are you? People are like falling off the boat, throwing up, flushing tampons, getting them stuck in the toilets.
Terrible.
It was a shitty job.
Yeah. Yeah. How dare you be on vacation and not know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. They like walk on with their socks and their flip flops, and you're like, I got $10 on that one, throwing up first.
Yeah.
But they want to be cool and they want to have that Florida lingo, but they're from up north, so they're like, you want a hot dog, y'all? You're like, what did you just say?
What?
Make absolutely no fucking sense. So yeah, war was better than that boat.
Yeah.
Afghans were smarter than half the Yankees on that boat.
Yeah.
Hey, I told Bill already. I was like, look, man, I graduated with a philosophy and theater degree from the University of Pittsburgh, and I was like, look, if I'm gonna keep doing these plays, I gotta go get some war in me first before I try to go do some some more acting anywhere else. Because war was better than theater.
Oh
man,
tighten your anus. My recruiter was fucking hot as fuck too. What was his name?
Got him.
Got some.
Nice. Well, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this show. Like I said earlier, Eric being the owner of a distillery, a decent-sized distillery. I think I haven't made it out there yet, but I think you guys got a pretty big spot, right, from the videos and stuff I've seen. Like how many I know you do rum, correct?
Yeah.
And I know pretty recently you kind of got hooked up with an online distributor that is kind of sending your stuff out almost anywhere, right?
Yeah, I think it's 29 states right now. Yeah. But I look like we just locked down Tennessee, so we're got a meeting next Tuesday. So maybe our rum will be in Tennessee here pretty soon.
Yeah, did that happen while we were out there, or was that already in the works?
Yeah, it was while we were out there.
Oh, nice, awesome, awesome. So, like, how many bottles of rum a month are you guys producing?
Be a better question for my distiller. I used to be the distiller.
Okay.
We'll probably put out like, I don't know, like,
or you want to go
like
gallons,
7,
whatever? Huh?
75 cases a month.
Okay.
Or like we could probably do like 50 cases every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're 12 bottle cases. So do the math.
Yeah. Are you just
Pretty awesome.
have you
We could make more, but we don't sell. I mean, being a craft distiller is really, really hard. The beer has made it, right? Because beer got really crafty. So I don't know, like 15 years ago, if you went to the restaurant, you had Bud Light, Miller's Light, Coors Light,
right.
or Natural Light. Those were like your fucking 5 options for beer. And maybe there was a Sam Adams or a Sierra Nevada thrown in there. But for the most part, like you couldn't get any craft beer. Well, then, like now, if you go to the same fucking restaurant, you can get, it'll be like Deep River, Double Barley, Sierra Nevada. You know, it'll be all craft beers, and then maybe you'll get like a Bud Light option, or maybe you'll get a Coors Light option. And that's because craft beer got fucking crafty, and they put more alcohol into the beer and more flavor into the beer. And then kind of showed everybody like how Big Corp after Prohibition kind of fucked everybody over. Like, oh, we could use the shittiest grains, make it into fucking water. We can mass produce the fuck out of it. Nobody even knows because nobody's been drinking since, Prohibition started. And so big corporation kind of took over and everybody was just kind of duped. And then enough people went over to Germany and Ireland and tasted real beer and finally got it over here in the United States. Same with wine. But spirits, that hasn't happened yet, right? And then what we have is even worse with spirits is we have this like bourbon guy thing going on right now. And it's not to say that I'm shitting on bourbon people at all, because I drink enough bourbon for all of us. It's fine. It's whiskey. But for some reason, it's like we've locked on to being what's called a bourbon guy. So if you were to go to France or somewhere else and you were like, I'm a bourbon guy, they would be like, what does that fucking mean? So you don't drink Cavados, you don't drink Mezcal, you don't drink tequila, you don't drink rum, you don't drink anything else but bourbon. And the bourbon guys are like, yeah, that's right. And if you talk to a bourbon guy, all they know is bourbon, and they don't know anything outside of the culture of bourbon. And right now, to be honest with you, in my opinion, I think the quality of bourbon is actually going down while the price is going up.
I would agree. I was gonna say I won't say I'm a bourbon guy. I do prefer bourbon. I like other things.
But it's kind of like what you've been taught to be, right? Like it's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, when I was like
this is what it came down to, in my opinion, was like, was at 1978, Jimmy Carter signed into law in Congress the Home Brewers and Home Winemakers Act, or whatever it was called. And basically, from that point on, home brewers and home winemakers were allowed to make 200 gallons of beer a year. And 200 gallons of wine at home per year. So it really didn't get found out like that you could be a craft brewer until like it became trendy. And like you said, they added more hops. They did more adjunct grains or whatever the fuck. But
and
like
alcohol.
At the end of the day, and alcohol. I mean, they started, they started.
Yeah, I mean, this is like 6.9% what I'm drinking right now. So,
but but the spirits was never signed into the bill of the same bill as the beer, right? Or the wine. It was just
they didn't do distillers because I meant like fucking liquor. I don't want water. They were talking about liquor. I fucking feel like I need to drink some liquor. Sorry, Jimmy is upset. Oh shit, white rum! I haven't drank my white rum straight in a very long time.
I've learned.
You want to come to my house? I got the white for you right here, Tansey. I'll pour some for you.
Yeah.
I know that's not me. That's a girl. Her name is Marissa Best. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, dude, is that you?" And I'm like, "Fuck, no, it's not. It's actually a female."
Erica Tansey.
Let's pour it. Let's pour together. What notes are you getting? Oh.
Man, our fucking white rum is so good, dude. It's so good. I honestly like apricots and fresh cut grass. It's kind of like dried apricots.
Yeah, the grass is strong with the. You guys, sorry, Bill. Can we dive
spirits
in
heavy? It's gonna be spirits heavy. Let's go.
Yeah, go for it, guys. I was just gonna say that I rarely drink beer anymore. I just do it on the podcast because I learned from that fucking 6-hour Drinkin' Bros draft show that me drinking anything more than beer for any length of time on a podcast turns into a nightmare.
Yeah, I typically just don't drink.
if you're drinking good spirits, I mean, you know, we can go over the cuts and whatever, but what's your guys'? I was always interested. Like, what's your guys' base?
We actually use
sugar
Jaggery.
supplier.
Yeah, so we use
Okay.
a product called Jaggery. We're the first people in the United States, probably the first people in the world legally to do it. I can't like confirm that. It's really hard to talk to anybody about Jaggery because Jaggery is dehydrated cane juice that comes from India.
Yeah.
And obviously they don't make liquor in India. Sri Lanka, they dabble in it, but I still don't think it's legal. So like I don't know that anybody's ever legally made liquor with Jaggery. I think we're the first people. We're definitely the first in the United States to ever do it. And how that came about was
it comes kind of like Demerara sugar, but like you know how that powdery
no, so it comes like in
powdery
a
consistency.
it comes in a brick that looks like heroin. It looks like but it's big.
Might
so
be
it
why
comes
the
in
rum's so good, Tansey. You tested that?
Yeah, so yeah, right. So it comes in a brick about yay big. It's 14 pounds. And when we got it here, we didn't know what to do with it. And how this all came about was there's three ways to make rum. Rum has to be made by sugarcane or sugarcane byproducts. So you can use rum agricole, which is just pure cane juice. And how that works is we take a plant, right, the sugarcane plant, and they crush it down, and a yellowy, urine-y substance comes out of that plant. They can put it in a centrifuge, fast or slow, it doesn't matter. If you start to spin sugar, if you tied a donkey to the fucking, the big stone and you just made it go in circles, it would do the same thing. But now we have high-powered centrifuges. But if you spin sugar long enough, impurities will start to roll off of that yellowy, urine-y liquid. And the first impurity to roll off of it is a white crystal called
Sugar.
white sugar. And if you keep spinning it, then a brown crystal falls off, and that is
Brown sugar, right?
brown sugar. And then you have another little syrup that comes off of it, which is molasses. So the best rums in the world are made with the pure, and what you're left with is like it's almost like pre-cum, right? It's like a very clear, semi-sticky fluid called cane juice. And cane juice, and that's really what it feels like, is like pre-cum on your penis. But that pre-cum, that cane juice, goes bad in about 2 hours, or starts to go bad in about 2 hours unless you put preservatives on it. So the finest rums in the world, which are spelled RHUM or rum agricole, are made with that pure cane juice. Everything else is made with white sugar, brown sugar, and molasses.
Do you pronounce the H in that though? Do you go rum?
No, it's just
Well,
rum.
Oh.
Nah, it's just rum.
It's like
Come on
it's the
now.
same. It's the same process that they figured out like to make Royal Navy rum back in the day. Because
rum was the biggest. Rum was the biggest liquor probably in history. Rum was a currency. Rum was for trade. Rum was pretty much the reason why we have the ending of slavery, believe it or not. Rum probably has the darkest, and I'm not talking about like color of people's skin. I'm talking like darkest history, as in like fucked up history.
Yeah.
It's all like we talk about the United
Have you ever
States.
read about coffee? Talk about some shit history. In
Yeah,
coffee.
I mean it's
But-
like the same.
Rum might be a little
they
rough.
used to throw shit into the rum ferments so that the slaves wouldn't go and consume the fermenting molasses.
So,
That's how fucked
fuck.
up it was.
I got one question about the centrifuge project you were talking
Yeah.
about. The brown sugar that comes out of that,
Yeah.
is it like hard and useless after 15 minutes, just like every other brown sugar I buy?
I have no idea.
Oh.
To be honest with you.
Not if you add water and some yeast, Bill.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
the point.
So I
sorry,
figured because
dumb
it's
question. Go fuck myself.
right, because it's 2021 or whatever. I was like, well, how do I get cane juice here? Because I don't want to use molasses, because I want to make rum that's more like the rum that was from the Caribbean, from the Martiniques, from the French-owned islands. And everybody was like, it was impossible. And whenever I hear the word impossible, I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm going to keep going. And so for a while, we were blogging just about rum. And I've literally read almost every rum blog that's worth a shit on the internet, on Reddit, on YouTube. I've read all of them, hundreds of hours. And so I finally was like, I'm going to take a break from that and just start reading about sugar. And that's when I learned that there was a product in India called Jaggery. And my distiller, I talked to him about it. And so we called India, and India was like, we're not even going to talk to you about it, because they have less freedom of speech than we do, believe it or not. We're catching up to them, but for right now, they have less freedom of speech than we do. And so we called Sri Lanka, and we talked to a Sri Lankan fermentation scientist, and he was like, yeah, it'll work. And we were like, dope. Can you send us like a recipe or something? He's like, absolutely not. Like, it's still illegal here. So then we called India back and we were like, yo, send us some of this Jaggery. We want to try to ferment it and see what happens. And they were like, well, we'll send you 1,000 pounds minimum. And I was like, fuck, that is a lot to gamble on if it's not going to work. So we ended up going to an Indian market in Cary, North Carolina. And we were like, look, you guys are big, you know, you guys distribute to a bunch of restaurants and shit. Will you split this order with us? They were more than happy to do it. So they split the order. It came in, like I said, it was in a 14-pound brick. We had no idea what to do with it. Some fucking dumbass tried to put it in a microwave. He's been reduced to only doing podcasts and tours at distillery. He's not allowed to do anything else. So that asshole put it in a fucking microwave. It didn't work at all. We tried to boil it down in turkey burners. That took too long. So we had like $23 in the account. And we had $25 in the account. My distiller was like, yo, how much money we got? And I was like, 25 bones. And he was like, I got an idea. Let's go to Walmart and buy as many hatchets as we can for $25. Trust me. So we went to Walmart and we bought
the infantry solution.
Right. We went to Walmart. We bought 2 hatchets and a tarp, and we just started breaking it down and we melted it. And then we tried to ferment it, and it wouldn't ferment down past like 5%. So we were like, fuck. So then we tried everything, dude. We tried like every yeast on the market. And my distiller, who's a fucking huge nerd, was like, dude, let me buy a laboratory for myself. Let me get stir plates and on the fucking microscope and everything. And I think I can grow our own yeast and then I can mutate it. And I was like, he's an idiot savant.
Did you guys try inverting it at all?
I mean, you'd have to talk to him about it. Like, I don't do this kind of shit. I microwave 14-pound bricks of goo.
Where's he at? Get the fuck off the camera, Eric. Get
Dude,
this guy in
you
here.
do not. Bro, if you got him on here, you would fall asleep in 5 minutes. And you would not understand anything he says. You wouldn't understand a fucking word. So, and it's miserable because he won't shut the fuck up. And he's like doing math equations. He's like, so if you convert 2.1 grams, so we're just going to microdose that down to 1450. And then we're going to add, because the converted sugars and bricks in that, if you want to convert the sugars, and you're like, dude, we're done. Like, I don't let him do tours because.
At the end of this, give him my phone. I'll give you my phone number. I need to talk to this man because.
Dude, you'll apologize. You'll apologize to me later. No, you think you are on that level, dude? You're not.
I'm crying I'm read till I bleed, bro. Like I've been.
This goes far beyond that, man. He'll come into work and his legs will be like bright red, and I'm like, damn, what the fuck? That's the worst sunburn I've ever seen. And he was like, oh no, I was smashing grapes all night last night. Like, he lives, breathes, eats wine, beer, and spirits. Like, that's all he does, and it's all he knows.
That's awesome.
And it's good
that's
because.
So awesome.
But yeah, so we grow our own house yeast. We put our rum after 9 months of fucking around with the Jaggery. We finally got it down to a science, and we started producing pretty good liquor. And being a sommelier and a certified specialist of wine, I feel like I have a really good palate. And I was like, well, let's go ahead and put it into an international rating and see where we sit. Because I don't really, and that's another thing that the craft industry doesn't really do a lot, is you'll see them get the same ratings over and over and over again without changing the recipe. And I'm the kind of guy, it's like, well, if I get a bad rating or whatever, I'm just going to trade because I always want to get better. So we put our thing in, and I really just wanted to get 85 points. It's an international rating that lasts for a year. So if you suck, you have a sucky rating for a year, but we're so small, who gives a shit? But we put it in, dude, and I didn't cry for my first child, didn't cry for my second child, cried for my third child because I didn't want it, crying really hard for my fourth child because I really don't want that one. But the only other time I cried was when we got our rating back and we got 90 plus points and we got gold from the John Barley Corn Awards. So it was a really special moment for all of us.
Awesome.
So much hard work. And I mean, when we talk about blood, sweat, and tears, dude, we're talking Jimmy, my producer in here. I mean, I think it was that one night we probably worked like 37 hours. Yeah, multiple times, like 37 hours, like straight. Like, I mean, like physically crying, mentally crying, fighting with each other, walking out on each other, coming back in to finish it because we're men, we're fucking adults. So every time we had a fight, like nobody ever quit, but dude, it got ugly. I broke my foot really bad, lost like
kicking
3
Jimmy?
toenails. Kicking a fucking molasses tote with 3,000 pounds of molasses.
Yeah, I see that winning.
What's your guys' aging setup like? Because like I personally, like I have, because I've been doing this for
fuck you,
years.
Ruben.
Yeah, so
yeah,
put a pin in that, JJ, because we kind of got off on this. So the reason why invited JJ on here, not only is he hilarious and interesting, He is, and for some legal reasons, we have to be hypothetical, I think, about how we talk about this, and we'll get into that a little later.
You
But,
don't. I mean, they have that fucking show Moonshiners. You're good.
Who really like personally? I'll put it out there. Who really gives a fuck? But I've been dabbling in this for some years now, and like I got my setup where we as in me and myself, we're using like a Solaris setup, and you know you go on the hd.org, right? You know, you've been on that website, I'm sure, like where they talk about all that shit. You know, the Solera thing is, you know, you put a little bit in, you move it, you move it, you move it. To me, it was just like,
I mean, the Solera
to me,
system
it was just like barbecue. Like, in my opinion.
The Solera system's fine. I mean, it's kind of like to get consistency, because really why Soleras are important is because you have good vintages and you have bad vintages. And so, and basically for those of you who don't know, a Solera is like if you took a stack of barrels and you stacked them into a pyramid, and the top of the pyramid being your oldest barrel, and then like your two, you know, then it goes like, so this bottom row is your youngest barrel of wine or spirits. So you're going to drain from the bottom. And so you'll drain, like, let's just say you make a cup full of wine from your bottom barrel. Well, then that barrel is going to get filled up from the oldest wine from the top. So the top's going to leak into the second row. The second row is going to go to the third row is going to the fourth row. And so really what that is for consistency, because in the old world, France, Italy, Spain, and Germany, you have bad vintages in years because they didn't have the rules that, like, they're governed. Old world wines, France, Italy, Spain, Germany, people that have been making wines for hundreds and thousands of years versus the new world. I like to say Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1486. Just kidding, it's 1492, cunts. But 1492 to the new world. So everything in the new world, so we're talking like Argentina, Chile, United States, well, they don't have wine laws that are governed by the government. So if you have a plot of land and it hails on that plot of land, that's okay, because we can pull grapes from the other, like from a neighboring thing, and bring it over there so that our wine tastes good. And then we can also put it in funky barrels, like French barrels, Hungarian barrels, American barrels, charred barrels, bourbon barrels, whatever. We can manipulate the taste that even if you have a bad vintage, the wine still will taste good, or the liquor will still taste good. In the old world, they can't do that. They have to use one particular barrel, and it has to come from one particular source. So kind of one of the things that got away around that, having bad vintages, if we use a Solera system and we start sending some old shit all the way down through some new shit that's just been in barrels for a really long time, and now we have good liquor whether we had a bad vintage or not. So the Solera system is a really fun and tricky thing to do, but at the end of the day, I don't use the Solera system.
Yeah, that was the great thing about the British Navy Royal rum, is that I was doing some research and listening to podcasts and whatever, and like the oldest thing that they had found is that they were taking rum agricole from the British owned islands in the West Indies, and they were taking some rum agricole. They were taking some rum from some of the Spanish ones, and they were shipping it to Great Britain. And there was a certain point in time where they had, I think it was like in parallel, they had like 30,000 gallon vats filled with rum. And they had like these self-circulating systems with these paddles and shit. Yeah. And it was rotating through these 30,000 gallon vats, and back through and then back through. And that was just to create the consistency of what they were like putting out as Royal Navy rum at the time. And it was going in at 160 proof and coming out at, you know, they didn't call it the Queen's proof, but I being an American will say, oh, it's coming out at the King's proof, right? Yeah. But like, it's crazy to think that, like, just for consistency, so their sailors wouldn't get hammered, they're like, well, we got to make these 30,000 gallon vats.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, rum is so fun, and rum can be so different. Like, you can pick up a Jamaican rum and tell the difference between a Haitian rum versus a Puerto Rican rum, Cuban rum. But rum is like so vastly more interesting. There's so many more stories. bourbon would not exist. Whiskey would not even exist if it wasn't for wine, for rum. Basically, George Washington decided they wanted to stop giving tax dollars to the French, who were being completely heinous to their slaves. By the way, like there was a lot of good Americans that they only owned slaves out of basically pure necessity and survival. And when you start like looking into the slave owners, for the mass majority of them, they didn't treat their slaves all that bad because slaves were really expensive, and if they didn't have them, they fucking would die because like there was Indians and shits and there's so much.
The whiskey,
but the
whiskey
French,
rebellion happened in Pittsburgh.
I mean, the French were fucking absolutely heinous to their slaves, like just really pure shit to their slaves. So George Washington wanted to stop giving money to them. And so he'd come up with this thing about making the Indians liquor because that's what every good white man does is we steal shit from other cultures. So let's just fucking steal liquor from the Indians. So they started making corn liquor, but everybody was like, man, corn liquor sucks. It tastes like shit. We like rum better. They kept drinking the rum. So then they were like, well, let's fucking make corn liquor tax free. Everybody's like, all right, cool. We'll dabble in on that. Well, then George Washington gets inaugurated as our first president. Shocker, spoiler alert. He becomes our first president. At his inauguration, he has 50 barrels of rum. So again, like from our first president, do as I say, not as I do. So he was trying to get everybody else to stop drinking rum, but at his own inauguration, he has 50 barrels of rum. So everybody said, fuck corn liquor. We're going back to rum. As the time went by, and that was, the late 1700s, then we're starting to move into the 1800s. Now we're really getting fucking scared of the French. We have to stop giving them money. So now they're going back into, we have to do the corn liquor thing. They start to tax rum. They tax it 300% to get people to start drinking corn liquor. They get them to start drinking the corn liquor somewhere between 1800 and 1830. That whole Elijah Craig thing happened, if you want to believe that. I don't give a fuck whose farm it was. I do believe the story.
We invented the coffee still between the continuous distillation process between 1800 and 1830, which was revolutionary for the entire distilling business. And with the fractionated column and the way that they were able to do that without like all the shit they were doing in Jamaica with like the single retort, the double retort, all that shit. Like they invented that fractionated column, which is like you guys use a fractionated column, right? So like
ours is more of like it's kind of like a hybrid. It's kind of like something
like a fluted.
We can take we can take the plates in. But what like really changed the game was somebody's fucking cooperage, which cooperage is what makes oak barrels. It burnt down, and back then they didn't have anything else to put liquor in except wooden barrels. So they didn't have like a plastic totes or anything. So they were like, fuck, dude. Where are we going to put all this liquor? They were like, fuck it, let's put it in the burned up barrels until we build new barrels. And, by the time they're drying out the wood and everything, it could take like 2 years, 3 years. So the last little bit of liquor that they actually got into new wooden barrels had been in a new American charred oak barrel. And that was the birth of bourbon. And somebody was like, fuck, this tastes way better than corn liquor as long as we put it in a barrel, which is why I've always like laughed at bourbon. I do like bourbon. I do enjoy it. And I do drink a bunch of it. But I also think it's like really funny that the liquor sucks until it goes into a fucking charred oak barrel. So the distiller's never the star of the show.
Right.
For bourbon, the fucking oak barrels are the star of the show. And because I'm an egotistic maniac, like I want the distiller to be the star. And then just the barrel just enhances that. But we right now we have rum aging in a bourbon barrel chocolate coffee stout beer barrel. So it had Jim Beam in it first, and then it had Deep River Brewing's coffee stout in there, and now it's got our rum in there. It's been in there for like 2.5 years. So that product probably come out this winter.
Awesome. So if we're talking about we're talking about history. Earlier you were talking about at one point in time, and maybe still, I'd imagine like rum being the most popular liquor or alcohol in the world. Like what caused that? Was it flavor? Was it like ease of distilling?
Wait, say it again. I was reading the fucking comments.
I know.
ADD. Yeah. Say it one more time. Say the question one more time.
So you mentioned earlier that rum, I'm assuming kind of like colonial days, Pirates of the Caribbean shit, being the most popular alcohol on the planet.
By far.
Right.
By far.
It might still be. I don't know.
Every American was rationed 5 barrels, which the barrels were small, but there were 5 barrels per person per year because you couldn't drink the water here. Right. So everybody drank rum. Every household had to have rum.
Right. So I guess my question is like, what caused its popularity then? Was it easier to distill and distribute, or was it just people just liked it better than whatever swill?
I think it was I think it's because it's really easy to make. Unlike brandy. So when you're in in Cavados or anywhere in France, it's like you have to use the apples, right? And apples are kind of a pain in the ass to fuck with. And the orchards aren't all that big, and you can't make liquor all that fast. And then brandy is made from grapes, and so grapes they also have their wine thing going, so it's like their best grapes. So now you're taking the shit grapes to make brandy, whatever. But rum is like it's in all the slave ran islands, right? So like all the fucking slaves were being dropped off on the islands, and there was a fuck ton of sugarcane, and it ferments very quickly. So you can make liquor very quickly there, and you have a fucking bunch of free labor there because the English didn't allow slaves at that point.
And
they'd
plus
already gotten rid of slavery.
Right.
And on top of that, for a real like bourbon or like I like to make scotch, you have to malt the grains that are your adjunct grains the same way you would do with like a high gravity beer. You have to malt your grains so that you can convert your main grain, which at the time was corn.
And I don't think Scotland had the means. I don't think Scotland had the means or the time to fucking deliver scotch anywhere. You weren't fucking poor shit.
You weren't malting grains, or like they do floor malting now. A lot of that shit that is going on now on like the Isla scotches and some of the other ones. You weren't having the time to fucking malt the grains, and malting corn. I've malted corn before. Good luck. It's fucking difficult. It gets moldy. It's mold.
And it's expensive, and you don't have slaves. You don't have slaves making it. So, and it's cold as fuck up there. Nobody's sailing back and forth. Like the Caribbean, by the way, Imperial Gold says sugarcane could grow well in the Caribbean. It grows excellent in the Caribbean. Sugarcane doesn't grow anywhere further north than Georgia in the United States. And for all you fucking assholes who think sorghum is sugarcane, you're wrong. It's not. So pure sugarcane only grows as far north as Richland, Georgia. But Hawaii rum's rum. It's a funny thing about rum too is that we steal a lot of stuff from the Hawaiian culture, and rum had nothing to do with Hawaiian culture. So like when you're drinking out of the skulls of a fucking tiki god, that really had nothing to do. That was John Beachcomber in San Francisco who bought a fuck ton of rum from Louisiana. They had like an influx of rum there. Everybody were trying to dump it off around the United States and San Francisco. And this was like in the 50s, I believe. Anyway, so John Beachcomber has this fancy to-do restaurant in San Francisco. He buys a bunch of their fucking rum, goes on vacation in Hawaii, falls in love with Hawaiian culture, and then starts mixing rum drinks with Hawaiian culture. Hence, we have the tiki culture.
What do you call it? Rum ski, right?
So you mentioned, you like bourbon.
I like everything. I'm like I'm an alcoholic, dude. I will drink anything. I think what my motto is there's a time and a place for every beverage. It's your job to find that time and that place.
Yeah. So does Instill have any plans on moving outside of rum right now, or no?
No, never. Rum is one of those things that I'm really passionate about when it comes to spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think perfecting it, like rum got real shitty for a long time. Yeah. So I think it's just I don't think
spice rum.
Yeah, I mean,
some spice rums are good.
Our fucking spice rum's awesome.
We've all had a little captain.
I love our
spice
spice
I
rum.
agree, but I'm saying like when it came down to like taste, flavor, those like subtle hints of like grassy notes and like all that shit that like kind of rides the wave at the bottom of the back of your palate for rum. For me, like I don't get that when it's spiced.
Right. Yeah. I think spice rum.
It's a lot of front of the mouth.
Yeah. Spice rum for me is like just the reason I like spice rum is just mainly for cocktails. Like I love. Yeah. I love making cocktails with spice rum, man. Like hot buttered rum is one of my favorite cocktails, and you can go to instillingco.com. You can follow Instill recipes on Instagram, but I put all those recipes, a bunch of cocktails on there. But yeah, as far as like just drinking rum, like I definitely would prefer to drink maybe white rum or aged rum. Amber rum's really is what I drink straight. But I think where rum went wrong was they started making more like vodka out of rum. And that's basically, obviously rum can never be true vodka because vodka has to be made from a neutral grain and sugar is not a neutral grain. However, rum can be distilled to neutral. So the definition of vodka is a colorless, odorless spirit made from neutral grains. But can rum be colorless? Sure, absolutely. We've all seen white rum. Can it be tasteless? Yep, but it burns like hell. Can it be odorless? Sure, but who gives a fuck if it doesn't smell? So, like, all rum can be is like bad vodka, or you could make rum with really, really good flavors and stop distilling the shit out of it. But as we all know about Starbucks, right? The reason why Starbucks coffee is good is because they burn the roast, right? Like, do we all know that?
Sucks.
But they burn their roast, so it tastes the same in Washington as it does in South Africa. Well, if you distill something to neutral, that's the easiest and cheapest way to do it because you don't even have to pay a fucking distiller. You just distill it over and over again. So when you start seeing like 7 times distilled, and it, like what they're saying is like there's no fucking flavor at all. And Americans love that for some reason in their liquor. I don't know why, but that's because I think it was the whole beer thing. Yeah, I do think that because now like all we want is more hops in our beer or, you know, more dirt in our porter. So I think like as craft distillers get better and people get used to craft distilling, but right now the government fucking hates craft distillers. Big corporation is like, no, we lost to beer. We're not going to lose to fucking liquor. And they just drive you down in the liquor stores, dude. They just fucking, it's pay to play. It's all bullshit.
That was going to be my next question.
What I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you what I'm drinking now, which is I call it, so it's a rum ski. All right. I call it chocolate soft batch sugar cookie.
Ooh.
That's it.
That's a cool name.
It smells like it. Tastes like it. Like if you get those soft batch cookie in the tube.
Yeah.
And it's chocolate. And it's got those little sugar crystals in it.
Yeah. Oh, I love the sugar cookies.
That is exactly what this shit fucking tastes like. I'll send you a sample.
We're actually doing a botanical rum right now that me and my team kind of masterminded. I think we're the first people to do it as well, but it's a botanical spiced rum. And so we've spiced it with, instead of using the holiday spices, which normal spice rum is cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, allspice, cardamom, star anise, whatever, vanilla. We decided to do a botanical spice rum. So it's like loblolly pine needles, hops. So we use like Chinook hops, I think is the one we stuck with.
Yeah.
And then we did lavender, chamomile, and a little bit of juniper. And it's fucking fantastic. We'll probably launch that shit in the spring. But it really smells like a good green tea, really. It just smells like, it smells like green tea to me. Beautiful, though. But nobody's ever done that. And I think as craft distillers start getting crafty and stop trying to emulate the bourbon guys or what everybody else did for a very long time, and they start getting truly crafty and not hunting the name fucking bourbon, and just explore the art and the spirit and start mixing other things, I think craft spirits will take off. And to help out, like if you really want to fuck the government and you want to fuck the big players, man, start buying craft spirits every time you go to the liquor store. Because these guys have fucking tricked you. I'm sorry, but these bourbon guys, they distilled a neutral and then they put it in a fucking oak barrel for 4 years. So it's all fucking oak barrels.
Half of them are getting it from the NGS company in Indiana.
100%, you're right. Absolutely, in Iowa.
Iowa, that was a big controversy here a couple of years ago. Is we had like Templeton Rye, right? It's supposed to be like this Iowa rye thing, and it turned out like there's a huge commercial distiller in Indiana that ships it, and they put it in a barrel in Iowa for about 3 weeks, just long enough.
I mean, it's all a big game, and like China and Japan owned a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying like don't drink bourbon because that's foolish, but like you should be exploring other things like mezcal, because it's really easy just to know one thing about a 20-mile stretch of land in Kentucky.
Right.
That all tastes like caramel, fucking sugar, and roasted oak. Like that's easy, but like fucking branch out. Try some Cavados. Try some brandy. Know some stuff about some other spirits so that when you're in when you're in that setting where bourbon might not just be the fucking answer, you should know like 2 or 3 cocktails with each spirit. It's not a lot. It's not a lot to have like in a notebook. It's not a lot to even remember in your brain, but you should be able to whip out a quick 3 or 4 recipe, or like 3 or 4 ingredient recipe for gin, 3 or 4 ingredient recipe for rum, for bourbon, for brandy, for Cavados. Know the time and the place to drink those. Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole thing about spirits. And actually, believe it or not, you guys ready for some insider news?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you guys can be a part of it. But
you found Brian Laundrie?
Wait a minute. Did you get the roots? Did you get the roots?
No,
You
but I
got the
think
roots.
Lázaro Lopez and I are actually going to start a kind of like a veterans wine course, like a veterans wine blog, but it's like wine studies. I don't know if we want to do
Because
it just for,
you're
like,
a
veterans,
sommelier,
but-
right?
Yeah, sommelier, certified specialist wine, and I really think that the only reason like I have zero PTSD from like from anything and from the fucking thousands of dead people I've seen is because like literally all I do is sit and think about and read about is wine and to study wine and to have fun with wine, and which wine leads to all spirits. I just say wine, but like when I talk about wine, I mean everything, like sweet wine, red wine, white wine, fortified wine, sparkling wine, all your spirits, all of your beers too. And it's just a lot of fun. So we thought maybe just gonna do like a little hobby thing where it's like maybe we meet once a week on the interwebs and we talk about wine, man. Because fucking the Drinkin Broettes episode that I did, the wine school with Eric Tansey, was fucking so much fun.
Is Lopez,
crushed.
is he a wine guy?
No, but he wants to be, and he's like super
Okay.
stoked. And we went out to this really fancy fucking dinner, and Delco, Dan, and I split a bottle of wine because Delco knows a little bit about wine. And believe it or not, Dan Holloway, me and his brother, we're really wine nerds. Dan Holloway's a big wine nerd too. But his brother lives right down the road from me, and so his brother hangs out at my distillery a bunch, and he's real big into wine. So we're constantly texting each other different wine shit. So
I was about to say,
yes, Warren Wine
If
is
you guys,
an amazing book.
If you guys ever want a third wheel,
Yeah, of course, we won like 100
you know,
wheels.
Hey, look, I mean, I'm just saying, like, the only reason why I got into this this vein of things is like, I was like, fuck, man, just like a lot of veterans, I think, because it was legal, it was like, oh, I'm gonna start making my own beer because I like to drink, and then I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, beer's not going well, and I was like, well, what if I try this? And then it was like, oh shit, this works really well.
Yeah.
Like I'm not worrying about it souring. I'm not worried about it like souring just makes it taste better or this. And but then if I add this makes it taste like this. Or if I can manipulate it this way, it makes it taste this way. It's like, well, shit. But that also same thing is like, oh, well, that's a great fucking distraction, man. Like,
Yeah, and what's cool about it is like when you talk about spirits or beverage, like it doesn't even just stop with making it in your house. Like it's viticulture and viniculture, right? So like the farming aspect of growing all this stuff, like you have to grow grapes to make wine. You have to grow grain to make beer. You have to grow corn to make whiskey. So like you have the whole farming aspect that goes into it. So you can be a super nerd about the thing. Then you have the chemistry, right? Like you have all your acids and all your phenolic compounds that go into this, all those things, right? So you can get into the whole chemistry part. Then you have the history. So like, why is it done this way? Or why did people do it? How did it get invented? Because everybody always wants to ask you the history. So you've got to know the history. Then you got to know the regions of where it comes from and why it comes from them. So now you're studying, what is the climate in Burgundy or versus the climate in Aconcagua, Chile. So all of these things. So you're like, you've incorporated maps, incorporated culture. There's memorization games, right? Like memorizing the wine regions from north to south in these different places. So there's just so much that goes into
just
beverage.
like maximum range. Just like
it's
maximum
so
range
fun.
of your weapons, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you can nerd out forever on these spirits. And like just when you think you know something, you absolutely know nothing. And when I was going through my certified specialist of wine and I was enrolled in the Gallo Wine Academy and I thought I had studied more than, anyway, I was a cop at the time, had all my books in my cop car. And I would volunteer to go to every murder scene. And everybody was like, dude, are you a sick fuck? Or because when you go to a murder scene, you often have to like sit in a chair next to a body while fucking detectives like diddle themselves and fucking jerk off to it and shit.
Around the
Weird
body?
things.
Johnson,
yeah.
This is an open shut case. I've seen this 100 times before.
Yeah,
Let's sprinkle some crack. Let's sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here.
Yeah, they're like, we're taking pictures for evidence. I'm like, why does it have to be a selfie? But anyway, so I would often sit there and I did it because it would give me free time to study. And so I studied. I had this like great discipline coming from the military and then coming from being a cop. I felt like I had some good discipline. So when I came down to take the test, which is like a 70-something% fail rate at the time, I was like, dude, nobody in the history of CSWs have ever studied as hard as I could. So I wore my best. I went out, bought a brand new suit, I brought a brand new tie, brand new shoes, did the whole 9 yards to go take the test. I felt like there is nobody on the planet that has studied better than I am. I'm going to get 100. I mean, it was so crazy that I'd be in my car and my 3-year-old was in the backseat at the time. And my wife would be like, what's the leading white wine grape of Austria-Hungary? And my 3-year-old would be like, Gruner Veltliner, what's the number one white grape of France? Chardonnay. He was just, so I went in there to take the test and the first 10 questions, bro, I didn't know the fucking answer to any of them. And I was like, what? I'm going to fail this test. And I thought I studied harder than anybody in the world. And then I ended up having to like start thinking about like, okay, where was I when I studied this chapter? And I was like, oh, that was the murder scene on Pool Road. And that dude fucking had his head blown off. And I was like trying to piece it together. I ended up getting a 77, thinking I was going to get 100. And I ended up getting a 77 passing because 75 was passing. But, you know, it just shows to show you it doesn't matter how hard you study or how hard you work, dude. Like, it's just, there's too much to know. And Gigi says, is Tansey on cocaine? I've never done drugs in my life. Ever. Not once. So, no. And I'm not even, I've had like 2 sips of rum. So, absolutely not.
I've smelt it a couple times. Don't like it.
I'm just high energy, Gigi. Come on.
So, all right. 2 more questions before we get out of here. Kyle, we referenced it earlier, and you made a reference about, you know, government regulations and stuff. But, like, how does somebody, and we'll go short answer, you know, because I'm sure it could be a huge, long, detailed thing. But, like, how does a hobbyist turn this into, how do you turn it into a side hustle kind of thing?
Legally, you can't be a hobbyist to make liquor. Making liquor is illegal across the board, which is bullshit. And it sucks. And again, that's because the big players, everybody that's in the liquor business has been in there since like George Washington. So a lot of your fucking politicians have great big stocks in these things. So it's really shitty. But it was funny because when I started my distillery, it's a 2-year application process. So this is another reason why the government tries to keep you from doing it. It is a 2-year minimum application. Now, in this application, you have to have a leased or owned business approved building. So now you're going to pay rent or mortgage for 2 years while you're waiting on this application process, and you can't make any liquor. You have to provide the federal government a recipe. However, you have to have all your equipment too. So you have to have a building, a lease.
A still.
You have to have a still, all your equipment, but your still has to be dry, and they come and swab it. And if at any time it's wet, they punch holes in it, and you don't get to try again for 5 years. So they also make you have to have a recipe. So I called the federal government because I was a cop at the time, and I was like, hey, federal government, which, by the way, the TTB, they always answer the phone to their credit. Like, they're the only fucking government agency that answers their phone. Everybody else is
Yeah,
never.
what does that stand
They
for?
want that dollar bill, Tansey.
So I call them.
I'm
like-
sorry, you just referenced the TTB.
Yeah, Tax and Trade Bureau. They're the federal agents over fucking licensing and like they're the big ones. If the TTB's after you, you're fucked. You owe the government a lot of money and you've been fucking around, but it's a worthless organization. But anyway, so the TTB calls, or I call them, and I was like, yo, and I called them federal government. Like literally, I was like, hey, federal government, you want me to provide you a recipe, but I'm not allowed to touch my stills or to make it. So how do I fucking give you a recipe? And they're like, you'll just have to get creative. That was their exact words. You'll just have to get creative. So I said, hold on. I'm a cop. I've been a cop for like 6 years. At that point, I've been a cop for 6 years. I was like, I've been a cop for 6 years. I can't fucking tell a drunk dude with car keys, wait, how am I supposed to drive home? There's nobody around. There's no taxis. I have my keys. I have a car, but I'm really drunk. How do I get my drunk car home legally? I cannot legally look him in the eyes and go, you'll just have to get creative. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a real answer. So I told him that. And I said, dude, fucking, you have to give me a real answer because that's bullshit. So the guy says, okay, it's just we've never had that question before. I go, what do you mean you've never had that question before? Like, there's a fucking 700 distillers in the United States. Like, how did they come up with a recipe legally? None of them ever asked you how to do it legally? No. Okay, well, I'm asking you. Fucking you give me an answer. So he calls me like 3 days later and he's like, yo, you can go to another distiller and use their equipment that has a license to do your recipe. I was like, so how do you think he started? The next guy started. And then I was like, you guys should probably figure out a fucking way to make it legal for people to come up with a recipe instead of just putting that on your application process and just expecting people to fucking break the law and not get caught. So that's kind of how the government takes it. They don't want you to have a license. It literally takes 2 years. If you talk to any distiller except me, they'll tell you it's a lost cause. They'll tell you there's too many red hopes. It's not worth it. I'm telling you it is worth it because fuck the government and fuck those assholes. And literally every time I go to the liquor store, even if I'm out of town and my liquor's not in that state, I always buy only local liquor.
Gotcha.
I refuse to buy any national brand liquor. I refuse.
And how else is somebody is supposed to market a product like chocolate soft batch sugar cookie liquor.
But you should, like, that should be something that you can market, right? Like, you should be able to put that on the shelf, just like they have these like milk chocolate stout beers.
Yeah.
That people are like, whoa, the fucking new October release of
just-
chocolate stout beer.
it's
So, but we won't
crazy.
do that in the liquor stores because they'll take your craft liquor and they'll put it at the back of the store and they'll put it on the fucking bottom shelf. And then, you'll see the big giant Crown Royal chair. You'll see the surfboards made by like Tito's Vodka. You'll see the fucking giant statue of Captain Morgan. You'll see all this shit in the liquor store. As a craft distiller, you ask them motherfuckers if you can put something in their store. So I only have veterans make my displays. And I pay veterans $275 and they get really fucking creative, dude. We've had them take like old vanities that they buy for like $10 or they just had in their garage and they paint it and they add some shelves and I pay them $275 and they've got like $15 into it. Some of them have torn down oak barrels. The guy that killed Al Baghdadi, tier 1 dude. I won't say his name on here, but he's been on the show before. I don't think he used a real name, but it's Whiskey Zulu barrels. So he made me a couple of displays too, and that's fucking awesome. But we only do that. But you can go into a lot of these liquor stores and be like, yo, what will it take to get a thing in here? And they're like, well, honestly, Snoop Dogg provided a cruise. So what can you do? I'm like, I fucking make like $300 a month to the good. I'm not buying you a fucking cruise.
Yeah.
How about you just be
Yeah.
a fucking good human and let the little guy win for once? Not a fucking chance, dude. So that's why anytime I go to a restaurant, I ask them, what is their craft liquor? You fucking never see it in any restaurant. They'll have craft beer out the ass. They'll never have craft liquor. Give them a hard time. Shame them. Be like, oh, that's crazy. You got a lot of craft beer. You don't support local when it comes to liquor? And they'll be like, oh, no, we support local. Be like, no, you don't. There's none on
It's
your
not on your menu.
there's none on your thing. And they'll be like, oh, well, that's crazy. We should definitely do that. Because
should probably look into
if you
that.
go to the restaurant right now and you see Captain Morgan, Admiral Nelson, Instill Distilling Company, Bullet Rye, and whatever else, you'll never go with Instill because you don't know what it is. So until you see JJ's bourbon, Bradley Yandel's Yak Yak and fucking Bill's bourbon all on the rack together, that's only the time they're gonna be like, oh, that's cool, that's weird. And now we've got a chance at them picking one of ours. But if it's just
Yeah.
if it's just JJ in a field of fucking Jack Daniels and Crown Royal, they're never gonna pick you, dude. Ever.
I will say
so.
it was an underwriter on a, and I'm sure you've seen it on HD.org and all that jazz. But it was literally the Home Distilling Act was on. It was an underwriter on a bill back in like 2017, and it got lost in committee, of course. But I mean, it's one of those things where you look at the process. And essentially, the process is the same across the board. We're taking something and fermenting it. The rest of it goes to market as just a fermented product. And people, and if you get on any of those websites, they'll say to you like, okay, well, here's the myth about like all the poisons that are in everything. It's like, well, no, like your beer has methanol in it, your wine has methanol and terpenes in it, everything has all the bad stuff, all sulfites, all the stuff that you don't want to drink. And it's like, well, when you get down to something that's clear,
Right.
tasty,
Yeah.
it's in a bottle, like what the fuck difference does it make? And
It's all
like,
gone. And there's more
all
of it,
fucking-
like I
it's
love
the
the
same fucking
sulfite.
thing.
I love the sulfite game where
Sulfites.
people like sulfites give me headaches. There's more sulfites in one strip of bacon than an entire bottle of wine. So bitch, if that fucking bacon doesn't give you a headache, fucking wine's not gonna give you a headache either. I hate that. But yeah, the craft distilling is just it's a fun world. It's a great world. Wine, the same thing. It's all just so much fun. I could talk for fucking days.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
but,
I think,
but seriously though, cheers to you, bro. Because I mean, like at the end of the day, it's like there's
Cheers,
several different avenues that anybody can take, and you've taken the one less traveled, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
And
One of
me personally, in the hypothetical home distilling world, we appreciate that. Yeah.
One of the cool things I forgot to mention, I always shout this out. I know we're not like big politician fans, and look, I don't fucking praise any politician, whatever. But literally, Trump was the first president since the Civil War to ever readdress the craft distillers bill, and he reduced the tax to craft distillers from $13.50 a proof gallon to $2.50 a proof gallon. I literally fucking cried when that bill got passed. I didn't know it was even on the ballot there. It was huge because forever, like let's say Bacardi, right? Like let's say they pay their employees like $7 an hour and they mass produce their fucking things. They still pay $13.50 a proof gallon in taxes in America. But a craft distiller who makes, so like Bacardi or Captain Morgan makes 300,000 bottles a day. That's 11.7 million 9-liter cases a year. I can make 28,000 bottles a year if I distill 5 days a week. I can make 28,000 bottles a year. They make 300,000 bottles a day. That's a real fucking number. So they pay $13.75 a proof gallon. I also pay $13.75 a proof gallon, which is super unfair, right? Because they're getting glass on fucking pennies on the dollar because they're getting them from China. They're getting their corks from fucking Vietnam and Thailand and shit for like pennies on the dollar because they're buying in massive bulk. They're fucking they're offshore, so they pay people like $6 an hour at most. Whereas I'm doing everything right. I'm paying full price for bottles. Most craft distillers are going to get American made products as best they can. And then we're still paying $13.50. So when Trump's bill passed, which was the craft distillers bill, it was the first time that bill's been through since the Civil fucking War. They reduced that tax to $2.50, and that is fucking huge for craft distillers.
Oh, yeah. And T corks are not cheap.
No, I mean
for anybody out there in the universe.
And what sucks is like I pay a tax on the front label. I pay a tax on the back label. I pay a tax on the glass. I pay a tax on the cork. I pay the cap that goes on the cork, the little T cap that he's talking about. I pay tax on that. I pay tax on the vinyl that goes over the top to keep the cork in place. I pay a tax to put it in a barrel, and then I pay a tax to take it out of the barrel. Believe it or fucking not. And then I get taxed on what went in the barrel, not what comes out. And there's an angel share, so we lose to evaporation. Being that if we put 50 gallons in the oak barrel, then I pay the taxes on the 50 gallons, even though I'm only going to get 45. Actually, probably because of the soaking into the wood, I'm probably going to get more like 42 gallons out. But I still pay the
Navy
tax.
Rum, for Navy Rum, it was called the King Share.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So is there like a network of like craft distillers, or like is there somewhere like is there like a website where like say
Facebook has there's like a home distillers group in Facebook. It's really, really vague. Right. And I'll say this because, and this is why I'm not shitting on bourbon. I'm shitting on bourbon guys. So don't be a bourbon guy. I know a lot of you are like, fuck, I've been a bourbon guy for a long time. This is your chance to change yourself. But like bourbon guy, there's nobody more pretentious and more of a cunt than a bourbon guy. A real wine person like would never ever belittle you for your wine and beverage. Dude, fucking bourbon guys are like, oh, what are you drinking tonight? Oh, Angel's Envy? That's fucking overrated. So fucking overrated, and it's so overpriced. Like, I'm a Buffalo Trace guy. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Is there like a Christian summer camp to pray the bourbon out of you?
Dude, crazy, dude.
Pray the bourbon away?
That craft distillers group, dude, like if you say something in there that's like halfway, like I remember when I was just getting started in this fucking like 6 years ago, I would post things and they would get like 300 comments, and like out of the 300, maybe like 20 of them were productive. All the other ones were like, oh my God, why would you ever use that yeast, you fucking peasants, you idiots. What a dumbass.
Yeah.
Since I've gotten a little bit of notoriety in the group, it's kind of like being a part of Drinkin Bros. Like once you've been in the group enough, now I've got like my own little cult following within the group of people who are like, actually, Tansey doesn't care if he's embarrassed, and he'll never shame you for asking a stupid question. Like he'll literally give you the right answer and not make you feel like a fucking idiot for asking. It's so stupid. Those people are so pretentious and they think they know something, and honest to God, they really don't. Like these are guys that make shit in their fucking mom's basement, which is fine. That's great, but that doesn't mean you know every fucking
basement, goddamn it.
I know, but that doesn't mean you know like every single
the people commenting like that, they're not concerned about the community they're in. They're there to just try to be a dick to that community.
Like look at me, I know more about spirits.
And that's in any community. Like that's in any community forum. You know.
In the same term, Tansey, can we talk about your muck pit?
What's that?
Can we talk about your muck pit?
Oh, my dunder pit. Yeah.
So I think I cut you guys
I've got
off.
a dunder pit.
No,
And they're illegal, but I've got one.
Bill's the moderator.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
sorry.
cut it off there. But
Why?
I think we'll do
We can't talk about dunder pits?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've seen that on Pornhub, and it was fucking weird.
No, a dunder pit is just like where you take the leftover fermentation and you just let it spoil.
Yeah.
And it'll start to smell like vomit.
Yeah.
And then it's like an infection. It breaks. And once it breaks, it'll start to smell like cocoa powder.
Right.
And then it'll start to smell like almost like an orange peel. And then it'll start to smell like a pineapple. And then I pull it when it smells like an overripe pineapple. But it's fucking crazy because we'll give we're supposed to date the muck pit or dunder pit, whatever you want to call it. We date it on the top of our muck barrel. And because when I give tours, I like to crack it open and let people smell it as long as it's past it smells like a Band-Aid and then it goes straight to vomit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really smells like vomit. And sometimes like he'll date it, but like he'll forget to change the date. So I'll think it's like, oh, this has got to be at like the fucking fresh pineapple sage, which smells amazing. And I'll crack the lid and the fucking place will smell like vomit. Everybody on the tour, it's like, and like, it's
I'm
bad.
sorry. I'm done, Bill. I
Yeah.
swear. I
Oh,
promise.
well, I was asking about the network thing because it sounds like, you're talking about people need to, if they go out to eat or drink or something, ask for local distilled stuff. So, I mean, I don't know if it's got to be an idea that's already out there, like a website. To be like, oh, I'm happy to be visiting Indianapolis, Indiana. Let me go on his website and see what local distillers I can ask for by name in this restaurant, right?
For that person in the comments.
You just made my night. Oh, Jesus. Just came in my pants. Tansey.
So anyway, I got a picture of me and Joe Green back there too. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there are networks. There's craft distillers associations. There's like the hashtag craft distillers, which is really fun. And I mean, anytime you go to a local town, if you're going to visit a local brewery, just type in craft distillery. And the cool thing about craft distillers is it's such a brotherhood because we're all in this together that we're not competitive at all. So like a lot of times guys will come into my craft distillery and I know that they home distill and they'll start trying to ask questions, but they're afraid because like a brewery's not going to give you the answers because that's their livelihood. But like craft distillers don't give a fuck, dude. Like I would literally give you my exact recipe and encourage you to try to be better than me. And if you are, that's great. Because we just want craft spirits to win across the board. Right. And until we get 6 or 7 craft spirits next to each other on one shelf in a liquor store, it's very hard to get somebody to buy one bottle. When I'm surrounded by 8 rows of Captain Morgan's and 9 rows of Admiral Nelson, and then you've got a little 2-stack of Instill rum, people are like, what the fuck is that? And they just grab the Captain Morgan and they walk right the fuck out.
Right. Well, we'll have to march in Washington.
But if you want to find our spirits, you can find it at right now it's all over Florida, Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, all over North Carolina.
What's the website?
The website is
or not. Well, you have your website, which you should definitely plug. But then
I know,
also,
and I think you can get there through our website.
Is it you sent it to be Regency or something like that, or
yes, RegencyLiquors.com. RegencyLiquors.com. You can order. I think if you order a case, it's a lot cheaper. So because of the shipping, but like, so you could get like 3 of the spice, 3 of the aged, 3 of the white. I don't know if you're rich, but our white rum is $21.95. Our spice is $24.95. Our aged is $31.95. And I know shipping does suck when it comes to liquor right now. So if you buy 1 bottle, I think the shipping is like another $30. So you're paying like $60 a bottle. But it doesn't matter. It fucking really helps me out, especially just because we're one of the smaller craft distilleries that's really fucking doing this without any loans and without doing any, like, we have like no major investors or anything. So it's very grassroots. My business partner is tier 1 special operator as well. We don't use the veteran thing to sell our brand. So there's nothing about us being veterans on the bottles or anything like that, even though we are a veteran owned and operated company. That's just because we're not trying to rape the veteran market. We'll leave that to everybody else that's doing that, which I'm fine with it because I buy that product too. Like, I'm not saying the fucking shame on it. No, I buy all that stuff too. It's just like they've already done it, so I'm not going to do the same thing.
There's enough out there. And I mean, at the same time, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of veterans out there that want to get into the market. And it's like, how do you, like my dad always said, and rest in power, but I mean, he was like, look, put big titties and flashing lights out in front of it and it'll sell. In in this marketplace, maybe we can try that.
Yeah. So, and like that's the other crazy thing about Instill is like we use zero sex to sell our product. We also don't use like partying or anything. Like all the things that are cool and fucking work for marketing, we just don't do because we try to instill a set of values of hard work, family first. I'm a huge family guy. And when I say family first, I really fucking mean family first. A lot of people are like, dude, you don't work enough. I fucking work like 23 out of 20 out of 24-hour day, right? I work like more than anybody I've ever known. And I schedule in my children's time. So yes, I take my kids to the skate park, and yes, I go running with my children obnoxiously. Not by choice. If you follow my Instagram, you get to see all these things. But, like literally, like we have a routine with my family that it just doesn't get canceled. So when I have to do podcasts at 9:30 at night, 10:30 at night, whatever it is, I really do put that family time first. And fucking for all you guys out there that are having to get the V or whatever to save your jobs. I mean, if in your heart you don't want the V, never sell your fucking soul for a pension or for retirement. Look, a lot of you guys are military and you would die for your country, but you won't. You would die for your freedom, but you won't give up your pension for your freedom. That's crazy to me. So, like, if you want to get it. That's fine. Like, I'm all for getting it or not getting it. But if you're one of those guys where it's like, well, I really don't want it, but I also my pension is so good. Well, I mean, fucking, you're never going to be a legend and nobody's going to remember your name when you die. So, fucking take a stand, dude. And, I we all have family and shit, but I got fired from the police department for opening up my distillery, and it was fucking nuts, dude. I had 3 kids, and I had the opportunity to resign and keep benefits, and I chose to get fired because I believed in principle, and my principle was more important than the fucking, right. the money and whatever.
Bills,
so,
y'all.
So, and listen, I'll tell all you guys out here because you're the New York Nation, but dude, like, I went 2 years with no paycheck. I cashed in my 401k, all of it. I was on food stamps. I was on welfare. I didn't write a fucking paycheck to myself for almost probably 21 months. When I wrote my first paycheck, it was a super emotional moment. To get into podcasts with Drinkin Bros saved my life, essentially. Like it's literally has put food on my fucking table for us. That was a dream come true and a miracle. But if you're gonna follow your dream, just know that you can do it, right? Like I'll tell you one quick story before we get out. On Christmas, the year that we opened up the distillery, dude, like I had bought steak. This all happened in one day. I bought steak. We went Christmas shopping all morning. We bought the steaks, and this is like 2 days before Christmas. No, I'm sorry. It was one weekend before Christmas. So we had all this stuff because I was going to dry age the steaks. So we get all these things, get all the presents. And then I got hit with a wastewater allocation bill for the distillery. And they're like, you can't do your grand opening if you don't have this wastewater allocation fee. I had zero money. My partners had zero money because we're all military. I literally fucking took the steak back to Lowe's grocery. Didn't know you could do that until then. I took back all of the toys. We had spaghetti and meatballs. And the very next Saturday, the Saturday before Christmas, we went garage sailing and bought all their Christmas presents at garage sailing. And was like losing our fucking minds. Like my wife cried, and she never cries. And we like literally sat on the edge of the bed and like we had like a very like crazy conversation. We were like, look, this is what we signed up for. Our kids are gonna be fine. They're still super young. Like this is when we said all in, like what do we mean like all in except for fucking steak dinner? I mean, no, I love spaghetti. You make the best spaghetti on earth. Like it's gonna be fine. And you know what? We still to this day will tell you it was our happiest Christmas we've ever had, and that was 2 Christmases ago. Our kids were fucking stoked. We found crazy awesome things at garage sales, and it was awesome. Spaghetti and meatballs, fucking meatballs, and it was really funny. And this last Christmas, we started a new thing on New Year's, where now our kids get to have whatever they want on New Year's for dinner. So everybody gets to pick their favorite dinner for New Year's because we actually had a little bit of money for New Year's for the first time. So
that's fucking awesome, man.
Awesome, dude.
That's so awesome.
And we never faked it. Like we never let anybody know. Like I wasn't taking pictures in front of fancy cars. Like I have a station wagon where I had to crawl in through the other side of the door. I was rolling up to these like fancy wine dinners in this beater ass fucking station wagon. I mean, and all those things just come with it, dude. And I think it's the people that fake the funk or make you think that they're fucking cool and they're rich and they got money. You know, they're fucking fake, dude. No entrepreneur, especially craft distillers, none of these motherfuckers have any money. I still don't have any money.
Look, I'm a professional salesperson for a living, and I tell you, it all goes out the door at some point or another. So,
yeah, and we love it, man. We have like a 1,300 square foot house with 3 kids and a dog. It's like a fucking cabin, but we're in the middle of nowhere. We don't have any home or association fee. We homeschool our kids. We do home births and home. We're very like kind of fucking hippie, except not a fucking hippie. So,
Well, awesome, man. It's an awesome story, and I'm glad the distillery is working out well for you. You know, your podcasts are very successful. You know,
thank you guys, man. I fucking I was a Nooner first, so
yeah.
I always love Nooner Nation, and I try to get on RPR as much as I can, and now I get to tune into Nooner Nation.
Hell yeah, we definitely love to have you back on whenever you got time, man.
Holla at your boys.
I don't want to take any more time away from your family, dude. So go ahead, just give a quick shout, plug everything you need to plug, and
yeah, man. Follow Drinkin Bros Sports. We're trying to build that channel. We're the Tailgate Legend Show on Friday. Me and Boston Joe, and then definitely Instill Distilling Company. That's our company, and of course, Failure to Stop.
Right.
Can't stop, won't stop. That's it, man. And Jimmy Bailey.
Awesome, man. Awesome. JJ, how about you? Where can people find you?
Hit it up, High and Angry on the YouTubes. I know we had a little hiatus. We've had several, but you know, we're getting back into the joint. And High and Angry on Instagram and Face, dude.
Awesome. We're going to get out of here. My wife's sending me text messages of pictures of her underwear on the floor up in the bedroom. So, got to get out of here.
Okay.
So,
man.
everybody here knows the drill. Go find us, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that like button. We're on iTunes now. I'm going to be pushing this out to Spotify and Amazon probably next week as well. Subscribe, rate, review. It really helps. If you guys want to be on the show, if you have a cool story, if you just have topics you want us to cover, or you have a nooner you think would be fun to have on, just hit us up on our Instagram at Nooner Nation Podcast or at Gmail.
I think every fucking nooner should come on this show.
That's why I started the show. So
it'd be great, man. Like Ruben, Gigi, Jessica, Jacob, like all you dudes, man. It'd be
we'll
fucking.
have them all on.
Get Jimmy. Jimmy's got an incredible story. Jimmy Bailey. I mean, I won't go into it too much, but his wife's got somebody else's lungs in her chest. It's fucking rad.
It's
so. Where's the nooner shirt? Where's the nooner shirt? I had that bitch like fucking 3 months ago.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to. No. This is a different one. But that's it's on its way back to me, I think, because I'm meeting up with Ross and Jesse next weekend. They hooked me and my wife up with some cool shit for our anniversary in Kansas City, so they're going to be down there. So I'm going to present that to them, kind of as a thank you for building this, man. This wouldn't be possible without them. So I want to make sure that they know that they are well appreciated, not only by me but everybody else here. So again, Hey, cheers, everybody.
To the people. Cheers to the people.
Hit the like button.
If you want some of that sugar cookies, soft batch chocolate sugar cookie, hit me up, Tansey.
Dude, I can taste it right now. I want it.
So, for JJ Jackson, High and Angry, for Eric Tansey, I'm Bill Schofield. This was the Nooner Nation.